Now, just so you know, I have hit record.
I just barely did 9 seconds ago.
So don't do me dirty by saying something hilarious.
I'm not that hilarious.
Okay, good.
Gotta get my notes ready.
Can I tell you what I watched today? Because I only watched Bond once this week. So let's get it out of the way. I'm guilty of only one viewing.
That's half of my tenure at this podcast.
Instead, today I watched Gladiator 2, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't offend me. There are dumber movies that I have loved.
I mean, I didn't know what else they need to bring from it. Is it an actual sequel? Do I think that the wrap-up from the first movie needed a sequel? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I don't think they should have come back to it, but it's fine. It's 16 years in the future, and it's interesting. It's fine. It's fine. That's what I'll give it.
Like alternate history, like Inglourious Bastards, or like...
I don't know enough about Roman history to know anything, so I couldn't tell you. To me, it's all anachronistic. It could all just be made up, just using the flavor that we know to be Roman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice how the Colosseum looked in the first one.
Yeah.
I feel like
and this one has fun Colosseums.
Yeah. Remember it. I feel like there was behind the scenes of them spending a little bit of time to try and make it look understandable and researched. I feel like the Mythbusters did a Colosseum overhang. See how much it would actually shade the audience.
That's a good and interesting thing. I should watch it one day.
Someday that'll be a franchise we do.
Yeah.
2 movies.
Hello and welcome to Potato Chip Pictures, the movie franchise review or discussion, but we are looking at the 007 Bond franchise. Specifically, we looked at Diamonds Are Forever. My name is B. Sammy Davis.
I am Justin, one of your podcast hosts.
Woohoo! We got Justin back, and that is awesome. So, before we get, talking about Bond, you and I briefly discussed what we might do for the next few things.
Yeah.
Do you want to give people a preview of that, or should we save it?
I mean, we didn't pick necessarily exactly which films, but the idea of doing some shorter franchises before universes were really a thing. I feel like Bond was... It's so long. Is there any other movie comparison that with this many films of the same type of...
I mean, this many films, no. But there were franchises before this. We had The Mummy. Really, every Universal monster had sequels, and so those were little micro franchises. And then, of course, we had Planet of the Apes, which had several movies.
Yeah. Planet of the Apes would probably... I don't know the dates on them, but it always felt like there were 7 movies or something.
Yeah.
Felt like a lot.
I have no idea. There are several of them, though.
Compare and contrast if we really feel like it. I don't know how critically received the new ones were. I think they were somewhat...
I loved all but the newest one.
Oh, okay.
So the first 3 of the new ones I thought were great.
I feel like the first of the new ones was really weird because of Wahlberg, right? Isn't that Wahlberg?
No,
No?
I don't think so. I think it's the dude. I don't know actors' names, and this is going to frustrate so many people as we continue to make this podcast, but I don't know anyone's names. Like, he's the creepy guy, but the only two movies I can think of that he was in were the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, where he was the son of Osborn, and Pineapple Express, where he was the drug dealer.
Oh, I can't remember his name either. Interesting.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure he's the first human, and it's very much like Godzilla, where the first movie is made weakest by the human element.
Did
and
they reboot
humans?
the reboot? Because
it's meant to be the beginning of the story.
Oh,
because if you were to watch, well, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. We're here to talk about Bond.
Well, in the future, we might get to a different franchise that has maybe comparable numbers to Bond, but probably nothing really close, unless we hit the MCU.
Yeah.
As
the
it stands,
MCU is going to blow it away.
This is what, 8 or 7 or 6 film that we watched? I'm really bad with tracking numbers.
I believe we're on number 7.
7.
But I could be wrong.
7th of the film series, 16th of the books, or what number was looking at?
Let's me recenter. Let me reposition. This is
segueing
our
all the way back
6th. Yes, you were. This is our 6th and final Connery movie, which means it is our 7th movie because we had Lazenby last time.
Okay.
This is based on the 4th book. So even though book number 11 is the one they were trying to be most faithful to, that being the last movie, this one takes place way earlier, and I have no idea how accurate it was. Some of the things to know about this movie is that when it was being made, the producers were ready. They were already looking for a replacement Bond. They knew they didn't want Lazenby. They wanted a new guy. It was United Artists who were like, look, you guys failed so hard with the last one that we want. Not only do we want you to bring back Sean Connery, we want you to bring back Guy Hamilton, and we want you to make another Goldfinger. Those were essentially the rules. So they even got Shirley Bassey. She sang the theme for Goldfinger. She's back to sing the theme for Diamonds Are Forever. And they just wanted it to be over the top and grand, and it had a budget of $7.2 million. 1.3 of that was just for Sean Connery to return. That was record breaking at the time. But then they made $116 million. Like, they were right, damn it.
Unfortunately, we wanted more Goldfinger. I don't think I saw a direct line from that to this. I'm trying to think of what similarities would have been, because it was an adventure with a big bad villain that you do see from the beginning. So, I mean, that's nice. Mm-hmm. The Goldfinger pool intro, like,
I was going to say, like, the big bad at the beginning of this, they kind of tease and kill. Like, they straight up murder Blofeld at the beginning. So you're like, okay, well, I guess we have resolved the last movie.
It's true.
Okay, here's my first frustration.
Go.
I'm frustrated at myself for lying. I said that in the very next movie we were going to talk about the death of Tracy Bond. Well, the only mention, and it's only even a hint of a mention,
I didn't catch
that this could be a sequel, is when he meets with M's Diamond Connection. He says, I hear you've been on vacation. And so you could interpret this movie as taking place directly after You Only Live Twice. and there is no on Her Majesty's Secret Service, but many, many people are saying that this is Bond's revenge for Tracy at the beginning of the movie. And I don't know, that maybe the script says it's revenge, but there is nothing to me in the movie that says Tracy is dead and Bond is mad about it. So
yeah,
I was wrong and I'm frustrated by it.
The intro is only him coming after Blofeld, like trying to get information out of people, but it doesn't seem attached to Tracy at all.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't buy it as a rage-based thing. I think it's a montage of detective work, as it were. So, you know, it's fine. I really do love the murder of Blofeld. So when we finally slow the movie down, we're in this plastic surgery lab where they have these terrible uncanny valley models that show parts of Blofeld's face. Our third Blofeld.
Wasn't he Blofeld in a different one, though?
No, he was an actor in You Only Live Twice. He was Bond's connection from MI6 when he got to Tokyo. And the guy got stabbed in the back.
That is him.
Yes.
Here I was like, oh, he's recognizable. I remember him from being Blofeld before. My brain was like, oh, okay. He is the guy that gets stabbed through the rice wall. Okay.
Exactly. So we now have our third Blofeld for just as many movies. And I'm a little frustrated at this point that we have 3 movies in a row where Blofeld is the main villain.
Oh,
you know, but at the same time, I like the misdirect. I like where this is going to take us. They're telling us where it's going to take us here at the beginning of the movie. It's fine. It's fine.
I think I like, of the 3, I like this one the best.
I'm still going to say I prefer Telly from the last movie.
I mean, you can be wrong. It's okay.
He's got a really wide mouth that makes him very distinguished. You know exactly who he is. Played by Charles Gray. And I have no idea if they ever... like, surely someone looked at his acting resume or even the own production notes and they were like, hey, this guy was in one of our movies 2 movies ago.
he died, so he can't come back as that character. So, I mean, let's throw him in as the main villain of the 7 movies that we've made so far.
Yep. So, you know, all right, well, I don't want to get too far into it, but Blofeld is dead, according to Bond, according to MI6. It is now time to move on. Mm-hmm. Tracy's dead. Blofeld's dead. Everybody just shut up. We're looking for a diamond smuggler now.
We don't know who it could be.
Yeah, but we're going to show you this montage of people doing the exact opposite of what we're saying about our security in our South African mines.
It was odd that they have to insert, well, if we're talking about the assassins, the insertion of them in between all the people comings and goings, the first one, they down a helicopter and I think they...
Well, the very first one, you're talking about Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to say, I'm glad we are back to tropey villains. You know, people... So if this is a return to Goldfinger where we had Oddjob, who I loved so very much... Now we've got Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, and they're a little crazy, and they talk to each other in a weird way, and
just like robots. And
Yeah.
I was noting that if they're like South African, I couldn't tell if they were meant to be.
They're American.
American.
They are in South Africa now, I think, because that's where the diamonds start moving, and their first kill is with the dentist, where they drop the scorpion down the back of his shirt. It's clever, not effective in real life, kids. Okay. If you're trying to assassinate dentists, don't use scorpions.
Their second one is plenty effective, except for the fact that the guy hands him a box. I do
like that one.
And he creeps away from the helicopter like Dick Dastardly from Speed Racer. Like and it's like, what are you doing?
So suspicious.
Yeah.
But it works. It works plenty well. The guy's like, all right, these guys are creepy. I'm flying out of here.
So this is like cut between Bond finding out that, South African diamonds have gone missing, but people might be planning to crash the South African diamond market, and we have to save the South African diamond miners. And if it sounds like I'm putting a bit of punctuation on all that, it's like, why are we using Bond to do this? Is South Africa?
Yeah.
I don't know the context of the history, but at this point, 1960s, or whenever Bond's supposed to be, is Britain, would they colonize South Africa? I kind of assume, but I don't know what to assume.
Yeah, I have no idea when.
Why is Britain
or even if
caring about these diamonds?
South Africa left. I know that at one point, South Africa was a British colony. I genuinely cannot tell you about 20th century history. I just don't know. I've never really paid attention to the British Empire and how many countries can celebrate an Independence Day because of them. In my head, the British have always kept some kind of interest in all of her former colonies. Even the U.S., she's always been a little bit curious about what's going on there. So even if South Africa is a free nation at this point, I could still accept that MI6 and the British government would be concerned about someone smuggling diamonds to possibly inflate an already inflated market, because, ladies and gentlemen, they are not as rare as your jeweler would make you think.
Artificially scarce. Well,
exactly, and someone is making them even more artificially.
They want to track down who's making it scarce, but their leads, presumably, are all being murdered by these caricature villains, but henchmen. I got tired of them a little later on. I'm glad we see them at the very end of the film, but that's... Yeah. Their usefulness was...
They're not the best. They're not the best gimmicky henchmen, but...
Creepy.
I'm glad they're back.
Yeah. Just odd.
Or not back. I'm glad the concept of a gimmicky henchman is back.
Yeah.
Because, frankly, we really haven't had a good henchman since Volpa.
Oh, yeah.
Way back in the day. Yeah. I don't even remember which movie. Oh, Thunderball, the one I hated.
She was a shining star in that show.
Exactly.
From the montage of these assassinations and who's it? M trying to send Bond to Holland. I think the interesting part of the show that continues throughout the whole show is this persona that Bond adopts and then eventually meets. And I just blanked her name.
Her name is Tiffany Case.
Tiffany. I was going to say Telly.
His yeah, it's so bizarre anyway. But it's meant to be like the jeweler's, a Tiffany Case. But he is taking on the identity of Peter Franks. And it's so funny that Franks later shows up because Bond doesn't find out from anyone but Q, who just kind of mentions it at the end of a call.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, by the way, the guy that you're covering as, he's out. Just wanted to let you know. And
I didn't quite know how they planned on holding him long enough for any of this to make sense, but I just assumed that Mr. Franks was kind of in on the British side, but
nope. We learn he is not.
Have to fight each other for.
But I do.
2 minutes.
I really liked that Tiffany Case did the good spy work of looking at the thumbprint and identifying that it really was Peter Franks in there. I'm mentioning that because I love your note about thumb mask. Change your fingerprints with a mask.
I feel like that and the back in the one with the train, the fake face mask and the fingerprints. I feel like Mission Impossible-esque, those sorts of things. I know there's Mission Impossible series that's early. I don't know how much earlier than Bond or if it's concurrent. I think it was fun. And she does some good counters. Spy. I feel like she's not like a spy. She's just a prepared worker. She moves diamonds. So criminal, but
she
not
works
necessarily
for
spy.
Someone who knows to keep her prepared.
Yeah.
And as we get moving with these diamonds and get them closer to their destination, clearly the people who are closer are much better equipped and much more in the know, although they keep showing up dead.
So the fight at Tiffany Case's place after Q mentions that he's there takes 2 minutes of screen time, and it is
I hate it.
So long. I don't know that I've had a fight this long. Yeah.
It's in this elevator, and at first, I was like, I really like these close quarters fights.
At first.
But then it just kept going, and the elevator is so slow, and I was like, I kind of hate this.
Yeah, it played out way too long. And if we add this audio to that clip, we will still not have covered the entire clip of the fight. It will continue 30 seconds after this. So it might be silence from us.
I'm not going to edit that long in. Like, dang, it is such a dull fight.
Yeah. But
it's consequential.
Yeah.
It matters.
He plants his wallet after he kills him on him and shows it to, well, doesn't show it to her, but she goes through to find it and find out who he killed, and it's James Bond. She finds out on a Playboy credit card, I'm assuming, or a membership card. I'm not sure what that card is.
That is a Playboy bunny on it, though.
Right? I'm like, is this a credit card from Visa? Did they customize them back then?
I have no idea. Surely they could customize them, especially for a movie.
For James Bond, even.
But Tiffany Case, who I will say is definitely not a member of Spectre, because this, despite being a Blofeld movie, is not a Spectre movie. I don't even think the last movie was a Spectre movie. I think Blofeld is alone at this point. There is no more organization. He is by himself. And Tiffany Case has no reason to know who a super spy is.
Yeah.
But she knows who James Bond is by name. He is world famous. She doesn't know his face, so clearly she didn't see the papers from You Only Live Twice when Bond was killed. But she knows the name. That's just always frustrated me. He's clearly famous, and this movie proves Bond is famous.
So it can't just be a title, necessarily.
Well, even if it is a title, it's a title that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows who James Bond is. You know? If someone is James Bond, he's a famous spy. I don't know. Anyway, it's enough to establish a cover for Franks to go with Tiffany Case. 2 Los Angeles. I do kind of love the cover. It's a new Felix Leiter to meet Bond. And
the dead
he's like,
body.
all right, I give up. Where are the diamonds?
I didn't catch I'm like, is it, where are the diamonds? In his stomach? In the corpse's stomach or something? I did not make sense.
They're somewhere in the corpse.
Okay.
They're inside.
It's like elementary. I'm like, I don't get the reference there, Bond. But Felix got it, so okay.
Yeah, he understands. It's inside. It's inside the computer. Bond gets in a car with some more goons, and they're in a
interesting goons.
Yeah. At first, I was like, "Are these the same goons from the beginning of the movie when Blofeld was killed?" But no, they're just more goons. They don't matter. They're not important. But,
I feel like they bring a little bit of comedy just from the conversation being so dry. Like Bond usually can make a turn of phrase off of it, and he just can't. Just like small world. Like, okay, I have a brother.
All right,
cool.
So I just remembered, and we could probably cut all of this if it turns out to be uninteresting, but I think Connery looks much older than he did 2 movies ago when he was playing Bond. And I think he's got gray in his hair. And so I'm always like, is this his Bond? Or are we seeing a whole new Bond who just happens to be Sean Connery? But it doesn't matter. I'm going to cut all of it.
Oh, I think there are some doldrums in the onset, and I think it's mostly whenever Tiffany Case is not on screen.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here thinking it should be exciting to we're going to skip ahead a little bit, but at some point Bond gets attacked by Kidd and Wint, and he's put into the furnace to be cremated, just like Frank's was, and they stop it. But I'm bored during a cremation. And I'm just like, he's going to get out somehow. I don't know how, but whatever. And I should be scared. Cremation terrifies me. You know?
If you were alive, yeah. That would be difficult. Yeah, he does get out just because I feel like he should have...
Because the other guys pull him out to say, hey, the diamonds are fake.
He would have known the diamonds are fake. I'm kind of... felt like he was concerned inside of the box, but I don't know if he shouldn't have been concerned because they take a look at the diamonds and the only person that knows where they are, we're about to burn.
It really does not add any danger to the movie, because at this point I'm like, well, we've got a lot more movie to go. They're not going to kill Bond.
Would be random.
I did like that as he was leaving, he was like, yeah, I gave you fake diamonds just like you gave me fake cash. And he immediately goes to the White House casino, where our suspected big villain, what's his name, Walter White? The last name is White.
Yeah.
But he's going to be the suspected big bad of this whole movie. And so naturally Bond goes to his casino with the
money.
Counterfeit $50,000 and just wins it all back in craps.
Willard White looks like.
Willard.
It kind of, right. Yeah. I proud of him of taking the fake money, spending it, because I guess if you're planning on killing the people, you wouldn't have to give them real money, so don't want to burn it.
Yeah, well, even though they have not really talked about the last movie, do remember that Bond told Draco that he doesn't need Draco's $1 million, and that he kind of laughs at the concept of getting $1 million. Like, The dude wins 50 grand in a night just because that's what Bond does. His superpower is gambling.
It's a nice, simple way, you know. I think it's a little bit of a nod at the super spyness of James Bond, because he can be wrong about a lot of things, but he's so good at cards. He's going to beat the house.
He's even good at craps, at dice.
Impossibly good.
So good. But at the craps table, we're going to meet our second Bond girl for this movie, Plenty O'Toole. And if I'm honest with you, from the male gaze perspective, I kind of got a thing for Plenty O'Toole. I prefer her to Tiffany Case.
the haircut for Tiffany Case is not... It's probably period appropriate, obviously, when the movie was made, but just doesn't... It's not a fun haircut to me.
Yeah.
So I can agree. But she's
not gonna stick around because they're gonna throw her out a window and into the pool.
The character impact of Tiffany Case is so much more than Plenty. But.
Yeah. If we're talking characters, Tiffany Case, I don't know. One day we may want to do a Bond girl breakdown. Because I've got some pretty complicated feelings about her. On the one hand, she's dumb. She's just a pretty dumb girl. But on the other hand, there are times when she stands out and she does the right thing. And so she's at least an interesting character. I'll give her that. But
I feel like it's kind of a trope.
Shallow.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a trope where... other spy movies, I'm trying to think, they have to lead the damsel in distress through some situation with like an earpiece, and they don't know what they're doing, but the super spy, he can tell you what's going on. So maybe it's kind of reflective of that, since that's...
I could see her being kind of the starting point, despite the fact that nothing like that happens. She just does kind of dumb things throughout the course of the movie, when really she didn't need to. She was obviously capable enough to be high enough in the organization to be given technology to scan thumbprints. She doesn't need to be dumb. She just kind of is. But so that's why I've got the complicated feelings about her. But she hired 4 dudes to throw a woman out the window just so she could sleep with Franks and try to figure out where the diamonds are. You're right, it is Bond, but I'm gonna still keep his cover.
I think at that point, I think she's still calling them Franks.
Yeah, she does not know. She won't know for a few more scenes. Right now, he is Franks, and I'm trying to think when she will learn the truth. But it's not going to be until Plenty returns to the movie briefly, if you catch my drift. But Franks gives this instruction to go to Circus and play blackjack, and that's going to be how she gets the diamonds. I kind of love the diamond exchange. I'm with it. I think it's so over the top. It's all set up by the CIA, and it's funny as hell to me.
She starts at the blackjack table. She goes to the water balloons. She doesn't have to try. She wins the prize, and then she just is trying to...
gets angry.
Yeah. She tries to get away with the diamonds and manages to give the CIA the slip.
Oh, man. Then the stain on the whole movie, when you said she tries to get away from the CIA, then I remembered that at the Circus exhibit, there's the mad scientist who's going to... turn a black woman into a gorilla, and it is horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But the adults laugh at it because ha ha ha, racism is funny.
Yeah, they did have kids looking at it, and so I was like, look at the kids' faces. They're like either they're acting or they're like, what is okay, interesting.
Yeah,
circus performance.
And I have no idea how accurate it was to the reality, because obviously that they're in a studio at that point.
Well, later on, a car chase
are for real.
Yeah.
The car chase is happening in the streets of Vegas.
Okay.
I just don't know if
this would have been or not.
Circus ever had
that was going to be my question, because I was like, it feels like it would be a big pain to try and set up a Vegas strip in the way that it exists, especially in an era where you can't quite fake it with the flashing lights. Yeah. But yeah.
No, they were able to get access to the Las Vegas Strip for their car chase. I'm trying to remember, did Bond help her with? That is why the car. No, I am all sorts of.
Well, car chase happened
backed up.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm like, no, he doesn't, like, she ditches him because Bond is wrong. Bond goes to rent a car because he tells Felix Leiter that now that she has the diamonds and has gotten away from the CIA, she's going to show up at the rendezvous. That's what she's going to do. He's got that super sex that he likes to give women, and it's gonna just make her come to his side.
It's totally gonna work.
But she's not there, so Bond is also a failure. So I like that. But then I'm gonna tell you right now that we go to the weakest thing of this movie. The one thing about this movie that doesn't make any sense, doesn't work. There's no justification for it. Bond finds Tiffany Case at a house that Tiffany Case's boss rented for her.
Mm.
Bond has no idea who her boss is. There's no way he knows where this house is.
How does Plenty show up there?
He just shows up.
Yeah, okay. I didn't consider that watching it the first time, because he's found there with a dead body in the pool, and it's Plenty. But how would Plenty know where to go any more than James Bond would know where to go?
Yeah. Why was Plenty O'Toole there? There are many people who have pointed it out. It's the part of the movie where the filmmakers just give a big middle finger to the audience and say, we're going on this journey. Shut up. Stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Because now Tiffany is totally on Bond's side. I have no idea. I cannot remember if she still thinks he's Frank's or if he has revealed himself.
At some point.
I just have forgotten. I'm so flabbergasted at the fact that now they're on the same side, but we've just got to accept it because they're going to go to the science lab in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. Bond has a sneak in there. She helps him kind of distract the driver, and they make it. I do think it was nice social engineering that got him through the main doors, though, and he assumes that person's role, and kind of, it's a nice set of covert ops of, Bond sneaks in kind of like awkwardly, like they don't have any car checks at this secret place, but he makes it in, talks to the guy, gets the case, the joint.
You said it perfectly. It is social engineering. Every year when you, listener, have to watch your video about security at your office, one of the things they'll talk about is social engineering, and Bond does that for this entire infiltration. Like, he fakes swiping a card. He just chit-chats to get information. It's brilliant. I love it.
I think that's a nice superpower you can give to any spy. I mean, you can do anything with your scripts, but it's nice to say, oh, they pulled this off so calmly and collected, and then they're in. Sometimes, you turn that on its head to be funny, but this one works really well because the guy doesn't have he's a good-willed guy. Like, he works at this weird place in the desert. Doesn't necessarily mean
but he doesn't know he works for the bad guys.
Right.
He's just a dude with a job.
He's probably like entry level. He's just checking radiation badges.
Yeah. I love it. It is a good, like, even relatively bad movies like Thunderball had really interesting things to contribute to the Bond lore, and social engineering might be this movie's really interesting thing to contribute,
Yeah. What was the second thing? This strange lab at the place is building what turns out to be this death ray. But aside from that,
the space laser.
That's the plot. But Bond is leaving, and he comes upon a moon landing recording.
Yes.
Like, are they recording this for who?
I have no idea. Or are they rehearsing?
How many of
landing on the moon?
These? Yeah, it's like, are these conspiracy theories of 2025 and before from Bond movies? Because there's the contrails from the other one. This one had this moon landing, and there is something else that's gonna jump out at me once we get there. I can't remember.
Well, let's briefly talk about the moon landing scene, because why were the guys moving so slowly? They're like, stop him, and they just very slowly move to get him. It's
gonna catch him.
You're not actually in space, guys.
You don't have to worry about using this part of the film. Nobody's gonna believe there's a dude there. Yeah.
Oh, man. So maybe they're suggesting that Willard White is faking the moon landing. From his hotel.
Once
in
we
Las
get
Vegas.
to Willard White, I've got a factoid to bring out, because you hear Willard White in occasional places, but you don't see him.
We got to get past the spacemen. So Bond steals the moon buggy and is able to escape a bunch of cars, which I'm able to accept. Once sedans go off-road, they're notoriously bad at driving off-road. But fortunately, the bad guys have tricycles with big inflated wheels.
Somehow those might work better in the sand, sure, but it doesn't help him out.
They still crash
Bond.
all the time.
He does escape. Oh, he escapes back to Tiffany. I don't think he has anything with him.
This is when we're going to have our big Las Vegas car chase.
They make it back in the night. Wherever they were driving was daytime.
And then one of the sheriff's office sees Bond and calls him a traitor or something. He says something stupid that starts the whole thing. He pulls over Bond, but Bond is able to draw him out of his car and then start running away from all of the other sheriff's department cars. I'm fine with it. I think it's fun. I especially love to watch extras in the background. Mm-hmm. Like, there's one point where a bunch of cars do a donut, and there's a guy with his girlfriend, and he points at Bond's car and starts saying something, and I imagine him being like, "Now you see, darling, that's how they do that right there." He just looks so mansplaining. So anytime I can look at extras in the background and judge them, that's a good time for me. So I do enjoy the car chase in Vegas.
Yeah, it was a question if it was legit signage in it. That's why a bunch of the extras were kind of standing around looking at it, because they probably were people there.
Really in Vegas, and there were really people that were just hanging out there. They were probably told, hey, this is going to be dangerous, so make sure to stay on the sidewalk. When we say action, don't look at the cameras. And that's probably all they said. So, but it's, it's a fun car chase in the vein of a good Bond car chase. So I'm willing to give the movie that. The only thing that I will say irks me is that this is the first time we meet a character who is going to show up in some of my least favorite Bond movies in the future. And I don't know if I want to tell you who it is or if I want you to just find out the hard way with me.
Probably the second way, because I don't recognize any of these people from the next movies. Like, I haven't seen the other movies, but none of them stand out.
And I don't know if he's used often enough for you to even catch him. So I'll point him out the next time we see him if you don't catch him.
Go ahead.
So for me, and for diehard Bond fans who are listening, there is a character who was introduced that I am not a fan of, and we will come back to him one day. But today, he doesn't matter. Today, all that matters is we had an on-location car chase in Las Vegas, and I thought it was fun. I had a good time with it. It's not realistic or practical, but it's fun.
Bond gets away and lives another day. I think
that's what he's... Well, and only barely, because the very next thing he decides to do is ride an elevator on the top of it all the way to the very top of the White House Hotel.
Because he meets with Felix back at the hotel, and it did not make any sense why they went back to that hotel when it felt like the White facility would have notified the hotel or something, saying, hey, someone was here.
I don't know, because the CIA and Bond are staying in Circus, right? Like, even when... I do not remember the scene with Felix. I remember him saying that he's going to go meet with Willard White, but I've forgotten where they have that conversation completely.
Well, the elevator takes him to White's office, but yeah.
Yes.
I don't really know.
This is what happens when we only watch the movie once. We're bad reviewers when we are relying on our memory.
I think we would be bad at telling people exactly what happened, but our ranking of what was going on, it's fair.
I genuinely hope other people are watching these movies before listening to us talk about them, because we're badly summarizing what goes on most of the time, and really just talking about the things that caught us the most. And the thing that caught me the most after the car chase was him riding on top of an elevator. And I was just like, man, when this movie wants to be Bond, it is really Bond.
Yeah. It's got gadgets, it's got smooth. At the elevator, he pulls out this grappling hook that has two shots so that he can climb this, like, cantered window ledge that you shouldn't be able to climb, because he needs to use these. He needs them, therefore they exist.
So I think, I can't remember which hotel they used, but I'm pretty sure it's a painting on top of it, and so they're able to create a set, any set they want, and then show that set to whoever makes the painting, and then they can match it to what's happening at the top of the hotel. And so I do like that, even though it's, you got to suspend your disbelief. You got to tell it to go out the window. We're going to have some fantasy for a while, but at least there's consistency when you look at the set decoration of him doing the climbing versus their outdoor wide shot,
I didn't notice
so
that.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh, but he gets to the top and drops in and gets to meet Willard White, right?
Before he meets Willard White, he jumps in to a bathroom.
It's like, there's toilet paper there. Is that a toilet seat? It's just like a throne.
It's like a throne?
Yeah.
Howard Hughes.
Oh.
Famously towards the end of his life, Howard Hughes moved to Las Vegas, moved to the top of a hotel, and never saw another human being again. And so I do think this whole Willard White thing where they're talking about how nobody has seen him for like 5 or 6 years. He's got a throne in a bathroom that has security cameras everywhere. Like, I think they were trying to poke fun at Howard Hughes and be like, this is what Willard White is. He's the Howard Hughes of this movie.
Which,
does any of that ring a bell, or am I speaking nonsense to you?
I've only heard of Howard Hughes. I haven't watched any of the biopic, but
I'd recommend literally any of them. Besides, Tony Stark's dad is meant to also be based on Howard Hughes. Howard Stark is based on Howard Hughes. So he was a major influential person in his day, but towards the end of his life, he was hiding away from people. For many years, nobody saw him. And so I think they were trying to say or suggest Willard White is going to be Howard Hughes. He's going to be a psychopath who has locked himself away and has now decided to use his billions to destroy the world.
A surprise.
But it's not.
Yeah. It's actually Blofeld. Wait, no, that's not villainous enough. It's 2 Blofelds.
It's 2 Blofelds. We've had 3 for this movie. It is a notoriously overcomplicated plot where Blofeld, rather than changing his own face, has decided to change the faces of 3 other men, because we are watching... at the very beginning of the movie, the dude who dies in the first mud pool is going to be the 3rd lookalike. And it's the 2nd lookalike who gets killed after the 3rd one is killed. And then we're going to get rid of the 3rd lookalike in this scene in a fairly clever way.
It was pretty clever. I did not see it coming, but he does. I mean, it's clever initially, and then it gets cheapened immediately because Bond kicks the cat and the cat jumps to Blofeld, and so Bond has deduced that that's the real Blofeld. The cat would go to its owner, shoots him with the little grappling hook guy, so that Blofeld's dead, and we see a 2nd cat walk over to the actual Blofeld. So we've succeeded in killing 2 Blofelds. And what did that add to our movie?
Nothing, because the real Blofeld, he's still alive.
He's got his actual cat. I
like the line that they had where it was like, right idea, Mr. Bond.
It was a good way to determine, but unfortunately we can't just end the movie at 1 hour. We gotta draw it out longer.
But even if that were the real Blofeld, I would put forward that the movie would continue because the lookalikes need to be cultishly committed to being Blofeld. So in my head, when you're down to the final 2, the real one doesn't matter. They both have to go, because if he killed the real Blofeld, in my head, someone who is committed enough to being Blofeld is going to continue being Blofeld. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're already that committed. Change your face.
Now Bond is out of shots, Blofeld has a gun, and he's still not going to kill Bond.
Yeah, that was... I'm not going to kill you. Just in case you want to ruin my plans or something. There hasn't been too many of those options in this show because it felt like any situation Bond's been in he doesn't necessarily need to die. But
and let's take a step back to the casino when Bond was playing craps. Blofeld, who at the time we thought it was White, but Blofeld nonetheless is watching him play craps and doesn't tell anyone. hey, that's my mortal enemy. That's my nemesis, Bond. Go kill him. He just lets him do his thing. So Blofeld has no excuses, and that might be one of the reasons that I'm kind of sick of him at this point, because he has had 2 perfectly good opportunities to beat or capture Bond, and he wastes both of them. He just doesn't do anything about either of them. And the second one, he gasses him, gives him to Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, and they... this is my least favorite assassination attempt in all of Bond, and I think what makes me angriest of all is that it almost works. Like, they put Bond in a pipe that's, we'll just say it's a water pipe, and it's eventually going to be pumping water in or out of Vegas. But they put him inside. We see when they're doing the construction work that at some point someone looks inside all of these pipes before they go in, but for some reason they never look at Bond's. And then they cover him up with dirt, and they send this welding robot that's going to ride inside, and Bond just has to essentially ride that all the way to the exit. Everything about it makes me so angry. It is so ineffective. And yet Blofeld's just going to believe Bond is dead. And when he finds out Bond is back later, he's going to be like, impossible.
How could he have escaped?
Profound. Yes. So this, like, when this movie has its lows, it goes as low as it can go. And this is, for me, one of the worst things that has ever happened in a Bond movie. I'm just like, I cannot believe that they would even have gotten Bond underground, let alone believe that anyone thought this was a good way of killing Bond once and for all. So that's where I'm at on that one.
Where they've managed to kill everyone else that they've been sent to kill, they can't manage it.
They're so good at killing most people except for Tiffany Case and Bond. Yeah. Like, those are the 2 people Wint and Kidd can't kill.
Almost feel like at the beginning we meet Case and she's got all these different wigs and Bond notices and remarks on it. I feel like that might only have been put in there so that Plenty could be dead at the pool at the house that Bond didn't know about. But that's it.
They have to throw it in there just to justify Plenty's death in the pool. But for some reason, after Bond escapes, now I do like that because Bond heard Blofeld using a voice sound-alike so that Blofeld can sound like White, he immediately gets Q to make one for him, where he's just like, I need to sound like Saxby, Blofeld's head of security. Will you whip something together? And Q's like, oh yeah, I think I made one of these when I was a kid.
So easy.
I love that. So we go from one of the lowest moments in Bond history to one of the things that really made me laugh out loud. And it's just because Q is so charming. Then we get the line of Blofeld just being shocked that Bond could somehow have survived. He's able to, I also don't remember how he figured out where Willard White was being held, but we're going to go meet 2 more
on the phone
gimmicky. Call. Oh, that's right. It is in the phone call where they're like, go check on
the house.
And for some reason he says the house that he's at.
It's like, so you wouldn't have checked the house and would have just, we don't know where he is. Couldn't be there.
Yeah. But, now they're going to go check, and we're going to meet our next 2 gimmicky henchmen, but we only get them for one scene.
And that's fine.
And I don't love them. They're fine. I'm with you. I like that they are women. I like that Bambi and Thumper
trying to kill him
they're hitmen who are women. They're hit women, and they're presumably very good at their job, but for some reason Bond gets the upper hand, like
way too easily.
Yeah, it's not good, it's not bad, it's memorable, so I will give it that. That's what it has in its favor. Every time I watch this movie, I'm always like, oh yeah, Bambi and Thumper. I forget about them. And then I see them and I'm like, they're so memorable.
It's memorable, but
so I'll give the movie that.
I mean, I'll land on the opposite side of it. Was a bad fight scene on par with the elevator fight, so they're like moving their hands.
I'll go with you there.
All slinkily, but like, what is that doing, ladies? It's punch him, kick him. They managed to get the punches and kicks in, but like the choreography of the fight is awkward.
I can't remember the name of the Jackie Chan movie, but there are two thugs, one who always punches and one who always kicks. And that's their whole thing throughout the movie. One punches, one kicks, and eventually they both fight Jackie Chan. This kind of reminds me of that, where it's just a gimmicky fight with just two memorable looking and sounding characters, but they're only in for one scene. They're not going to do anything that impressive. Maybe I'll forget about them again, and then I'll watch something and be like, oh yeah, Bambi and Thumper.
Immediately forgot about them because the only character to rival Bond's charisma shows up beneath his basement as Willard White, and it's Jimmy Dean of Jimmy Dean Sausages, and that I didn't know him from anything else. I didn't know him from Jimmy Dean Sausages, but his screen presence was immediately like, oh, this guy's going to steal the show from Bond.
Yeah. As soon as he comes on the scene,
chatting. Like,
it doesn't feel like a Bond movie anymore.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, he steps in front of everything and he's like, all right, now I'm in charge again.
Yeah, basically. if that's the tone of actual Howard Hughes, I think then, yeah, they got the right actor for it.
Yeah, and I genuinely don't know anything about Howard Hughes beyond the fact that so many billionaire characters who are over the top are based on prime Howard Hughes. So, Willard White likely was meant to be that way, and they went with Jimmy Dean because he's oozing with charisma at all times, and why not? Like, he's the best American character in this whole movie.
I found the second conspiracy theory that is relevant to 2020. 25, I mean.
All right. I'm ready.
They get Jimmy Dean, they get him out, they go to the location where Bond snuck in, and the laser satellite's not in there anymore because it's now a space laser. Because those exist. But this one, like, blows up a rocket, and it blows up a submarine, and it's scary
It's
enough.
Got infinite power.
Yeah, it's as scary as it needs to be for this, but so unrealistically scary that it does not exist.
Yeah, like, who knew that diamonds had this much power?
They left the rocket bay doors open so he could shoot, or that submarine is traveling actually only a couple hundred feet below the surface, so the laser could totally go through the water and blow up the no, not quite.
Yeah, it's fine. If they had done all surface things, I think it would be a little more believable, but yeah, once they go underwater, you're like, wait a minute, I don't know if lasers can do that.
Oh, yeah. And he's just blowing up everybody's stuff because he wants them to pay him.
But it is a good plan. It's a good plan to be like, if you want to keep nuclear supremacy, you pay me because I'm blowing up everybody's missiles except whoever gives me the most money.
It's fair. People would pay the money.
Exactly.
Well, we think.
Just about every power would put their bid in. I want to be the only one allowed to have nukes. So But, now we've got a danger. We've got something that's under threat, and Bond needs to save the day. But it's going to be Willard White who figures out where to go. Bond is not a very great detective in this movie.
Oh. I mean, I kind of took the direction of Bond looking at that oil rig as something's wrong here. But, yeah, then the white guy is like, yeah, I don't own an oil rig. So he does figure it out for Bond. Bond can't do everything.
That's the one who does it. But, it's we get in standard Bond flavor. Bond is going to infiltrate. The baddie's going to finally reveal his whole plan, and Bond's got to save the day. But in a trend that is starting to develop, Bond is going to fail at saving the day the first time.
Yeah. When he shows up to get onto the oil rig, it was disappointing that, we're going to bring him in, we discuss the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
a third chance to kill him.
You had this on your person.
And they don't do.
You're going to switch out the master one because guess what? That you were right in assuming that this was going to be the control thing. And every missile takes a control tape. So you just have to have the right one. And thank you for monologuing, because Bond manages to get the tape to Tiffany, or no, he manages to do it himself. He's able
to make a full switch.
Yeah,
he is able to switch out the master cassette tape with a musical cassette tape, and then he goes to Tiffany Case, who is wearing a bikini.
Oh, right.
And he puts the master tape in her, on her butt cheek, essentially.
I was like, this is major Return of the Jedi Leia vibes, because like everybody else is working on the oil rig. We got
Leia going.
Hard hats. We got machine guns.
I don't even remember why Tiffany is on the oil rig.
I put a note saying she disappears, saying, "Where is Tiffany? She was at the hotel, and then she's gone. How does she get to the oil rig? I have no idea."
Yeah, so I'm willing to accept her leaving the CIA's care, because she even says something along the lines of, it's not like they're going to give me a pardon. I've been smuggling diamonds. They're going to throw the book at me. So fine, she runs away from Felix Leiter. But I have no idea how she gets onto the freighter. But she's there. Yeah. She's just there. And, it's funny that she misinterprets what Bond does, and she's like, all right, well, Bond put this tape with me while he was being captured, so I'm going to run in there and I'm going to switch the tapes out. And so she puts the master tape back in off camera. She just tells this to Bond later. But it doesn't matter, because the U.S. military is going to decide now's the time to attack. I guess Bond cut loose a balloon or something. The master tape situation does not matter anymore. It's now going to become an action movie. So.
I mean, I did kind of get disconnected there because it wasn't clear. The tape, and then she moves it, and then they start firing, and I was like, why are we not trying to replace the tape? Is the signal not going to get out anymore? Okay, if it's not going to get out anymore, let me know.
It's still going to get out. They now have decided to just blow up the oil rig. The tape didn't matter at all, I guess, because the plan was always to blow it up. So, I don't know.
Oh. I mean, I'm just kind of having it on in the background, and Tiffany probably switches out the tape because she only walks in when he's putting in a tape. At the end.
Yeah, she doesn't see it. Of all of the failure to fix the problem cliches that we will have, the tropes in these films. It started with Goldfinger, where Bond sent out the tracker with a note and it got destroyed, and so Bond had to force himself on a woman to save the day. This movie's failure is going to be that he switches out the tape, thinks that Tiffany saw it, but Tiffany walks in well afterwards, and so him just putting that in while they're talking about master tapes is like telling her, hey, finish my mission.
Yeah. Like, here's the tape to switch it with. Oh, she manages to do it, and you're mad at her.
Yes.
Bond.
She doesn't know that you've already done it. Like, it's bad Bond at that point.
And they're taking him, and they go put him in a prison, like the Swiss Alps one. Here, go into this space.
One where he can escape easily.
It's an escape hatch by your feet. Please use it.
Yeah. No one would ever think to use this to get away from us. So make sure you stay in there this whole time. But yeah, he's able to escape and signal for the battle to begin. And I mean, Washington, D.C. is locked in as a target. That is going to be what is hit if they are unable to stop the signal. And Bond has given up on trying to switch the tapes anymore. Now he's just going to blow it up. And I do like that Blofeld, just like in You Only Live Twice, sticks around to a point where he's like, okay, I'm pretty sure I won. I'm going to run away now. And so we do get that repeat of Blofeld not really being all that committed to his cause. He never sees it through all the way to the end.
We see him get into his thing. Bond kind of intercepts it and brings him back up and throws him around, but we don't get any sort of closure with him. He's just going to blow up with the rig.
We are meant to think that maybe he died in the submarine,
right?
Whether it be from being slammed around like a wrecking ball, because he does say, you know, when Bond drops him in the water and then picks him back up, he's like, yeah, you could have killed me or whatever. So at some point he stops screaming when Bond is slamming him against things. So I think we're supposed to believe Blofeld is dead, but let's be real. Blofeld isn't dead. Like, he's going to be back.
I mean, maybe. If you had told me that he's not in any of the movies, I would probably say, that's probably good. He's been around for a bit. Let's not drag it on.
I hope he's done for a while.
No,
if I'm honest, I hope that we are finished with Blofeld for at least a few movies. But I think... Well, I don't think. I absolutely know we are going to have at least one more Blofeld. And then the reboot will happen with Daniel Craig, and that's going to have another Spectre and another Blofeld. So, you know, be used to the character. I don't know if it's going to be this character, but Blofeld is to Bond what Darth Vader is to Star Wars. Like, you can't even have the sequel trilogy without constantly talking about Darth Vader, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, there's nothing really interesting that happens on there once they just take out the oil rig. It explodes. Yeah. Blofeld is presumably dead, and Bond...
The space laser is still up there, but it doesn't... it can't shoot anything because there's no master tape anymore.
Bond dives off and stuff explodes.
Oh, before Bond dives off, Tiffany does make me laugh out loud when she falls off, because he hands her a gun and says something to the effect of like, use this, and she starts shooting it, and it makes her bounce backwards until she falls off the oil rig. I laughed so hard at that.
That's pretty good.
It's just a dumb gag, and I love it. Yeah. It gets me. It gets me right where it counts.
I think it was, it was a nice beat. I do think, I don't feel any resolution when the oil rig explodes, because it's not like the laser shuts off or anything. It just explodes, and then we are done. It
just blows up, and congrats, everybody, we won.
We're going to have one last scene with bad guys.
Yeah. But I will, speak to that for a second. Of all of the Bond movies, when there is a world-ending threat, there is a little more triumph in stopping it. Whereas this one, you don't really feel it.
Yeah.
The oil rig is the threat. It's what is controlling the space laser. But there is still a weapon floating in space that theoretically could be hijacked and used again. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like the threat is still out there.
Yeah, it's not 100% my favorite part, and that's probably brings my rating down lower.
At least with Goldfinger, they have to disarm a nuke. They ended at 7 seconds for the flash and, for the imagery, as it were, even though the script itself doesn't match that. But there's a little more to do with a nuclear bomb that has a countdown timer. Whereas this oil rig, it just doesn't feel as strong.
If the director wanted the timer, then maybe that's why we have this ridiculous final fight where they're trying to blow up Bond on a cruise ship, and it's Wint and Kid. And
that's right. We got to get to the very end of this movie where, for some reason, James Bond and Tiffany Case are allowed to go on a cruise. I think to Britain from the U.S.
Maybe.
They're just sitting in a cabin, and Wint and Kid come in. And to the movie's credit, these characters have never interacted before. Despite the fact that Wint and Kid know who Bond is, Bond has never seen them. Even when he was standing right next to them in the funeral home, he never took the time to look at them.
Yeah.
And so they are complete strangers to him. So I will give the movie that bit of credit for Wint and Kid showing up at their cruise ship with a fake-looking cake and a meal and
flaming kebabs.
And I think it's Wint is the one who's wearing the women's perfume.
Oh, I have no idea.
Kid is the bald one.
Maybe. They were a very I feel like there's some Muppets that are kind of like them, but I can't like Beaker and Honeydew are not as awkward and weird, but the same kind of vibe of
but that was
two
the
Muppets.
Vibe you got. Okay.
Two
I'm
henchmen.
fine with that. I will give you that. That is fine. That's fair. That's fine. Their invention this time is a cake bomb.
Yep.
But it is silly to me that the whole reason Bond is able to save the day once more is because he smells I think it's perfume.
Something. Oh, it says aftershave.
They're both gimmicky characters. They're very fun for this movie, but we're probably never going to see them again because I think they have been thoroughly blown up.
Yeah. Blown up and burned, and it doesn't add much to how the ending left me, so it's odd. I'm glad we get to see Tiffany in kind of her normal self again.
She survived for the whole movie. We didn't have to have a replacement Bond girl. The only Bond girl who died was the one that I thought was more attractive, but didn't do anything in the movie. So she got a name at least.
Yeah.
But Tiffany Case, she's there from beginning to end, and that's rare
She just
for a movie.
Was an enjoyable character in terms of trying to help out Bond, like probably doing the right thing, and just the banter kind of went okay. She was very prepared for the counter espionage and felt like, yeah, she's a criminal, I guess, for helping with the diamonds, but if you took her out of the movie, I would not like this movie at all. Like,
I'm with you. I think she makes the movie.
and here we have Sean Connery back because the last movie didn't have him and wasn't great. So I'm like, well,
see, and I don't like Connery in this movie. For me, I'm a no on Connery. I'm like, this movie should have had Lazenby. And if it didn't have Lazenby, it should have had Roger Moore. But there's no reason to have Sean Connery, and United Artists wasted $1.25 million on an actor who barely showed up. Like, in my eyes, this is his worst performance. I think he did a better job in Thunderball, my least favorite Bond movie, than he did in this. But I think Tiffany Case, I think Blofeld, those two characters, and then frankly Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, those are the things that stand out to me in this movie, some more than others,
Wint and
some
Kidd
for better reasons,
are a negative on my book because I couldn't get past
see,
the
for
awkwardness.
me they're a positive.
Well,
it's so funny.
Yeah, I think I got creeped out with him at the beginning, and then he's all cartoonishly evil, so I couldn't take him serious again. I'm ready.
We do not do grades here. I know that a lot of people, when they are doing the final review of a movie, they think of a movie getting a grade, not a review. So they'll say an average movie is a 7 out of 10 because when I was in school, if I got a 7 out of 10, that meant I got an average. But a 7 out of 10 is not an average. That is way higher than the average. So for us, when we say a movie is 5 out of 10, we are saying it is average. It is not saying that it is a bad movie. Below a 5 means we are entering the realms of bad movies. Above a 5 means we're entering the realm of a good movie. So, with that in mind, Mr. Justin, tell me what you would rate this movie and why.
It's not a plot-full movie. The space laser and world ending, sure, the deal that he's striking is there, and that's motivating, but overall, they're just looking for some diamonds. The diamonds happen to be attached to this laser. Nobody was using them to crash the market. They were using them to demolish the world, and we just happen to care about the South African diamond market at the right time to catch Blofeld. It didn't start with a good hook of what was going to be the main villain, I feel like. Sure, it's a little misdirection, but I didn't love it. It's a 5. It is a solid average movie for me. Yeah.
I'm willing to say that because I do feel conflicted about my rating because there are some parts of this movie that I genuinely enjoy and genuinely love. And if I have to rate this against my least favorite Bond movie, I am willing to come back to this more than I'm willing to come back to Thunderball. That's just, I really did not like that movie. And this movie, it has things to like about it, but I do feel like most of this movie is a mistake. Particularly sticking with Sean Connery. United Artists whiffed it on that one. I think the plot doesn't really work, even as a dumb movie. You know, the example that I'm going to go to whenever I want to point to a dumb movie that I love is going to be both of the Godzilla versus Kong movies. Both of them are incredibly stupid, and both of them are so much fun to watch, and I love both of them. This movie has that level of stupid where there are some things that happen and you have to be like, okay, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to believe it because I have to, because if I don't, the movie's not going to work anymore. But it's just not as fun. And so for me, I'm going all the way down to 3. Ooh. It's better than Thunderball. I'm willing to watch it again, but I'm mostly going to be watching it for the things that are happening in the background or the extras, you know, just stuff like that. Plus, I didn't get to talk about it because I don't want to spoil anything. But I'm also taking off, like, I originally had this movie at a 4, and then I remembered the one character who gets introduced in this movie and who becomes an omen for bad things to come. And that made me realize, all right, I got to take another point off, and that's why I'm at a 3. Putting us, as an average, at a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thunderball was... yeah, worse than this.
Yeah. Even our average puts Thunderball below it. Like, I'm going to stick to my guns and say right now, Thunderball is the bottom of the barrel. Diamonds Are Forever is a little bit better than Thunderball, but it does a lot of things wrong. And we are officially out of the Sean Connery era. Are you ready to tell me what you think about Sean Connery as Bond?
He is a sample of 1, or 2, I guess. So he could...
Yeah, you've got George Lazenby as your only comparison point right now.
He is worse than George Lazenby, even though his...
Really?
I feel like I didn't see much Bond with Sean Connery before this, so he's never really been my main Bond. And he just seems like a gross dude. And that could be the character, that could be the actor. It's always so dripping with innuendo at any point. I'm sure that will carry on with other ones, but it's just always...
Yeah, he's certainly not the last horny Bond that we're going to get.
It just feels like conceited. He's supposed to be, super sex and all that stuff, but it just feels...
But you would put him below our one-off Lazenby.
If not tied, because the charm of the social engineering bits is pretty nice. He kind of keeps it... The tone does remind me of the future Daniel Craig charm of... I'm pretty sure that this is going to work. No, I'm really self-assured that whatever I'm trying is going to work. So let's just go with it. And I mean, the script calls for it working, but some of the bits are just...
I think that's fair.
Annoying.
I think right now I'm willing to put Connery above Lazenby, but only barely. And that's really just because of the second movie, From Russia with Love, which I still love despite that having the whole gypsy sequence that could be cut from the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's still not a perfect movie, but it really was kind of a really great showing. I love Goldfinger, despite having very mixed feelings on it. Like, I will come back to it for the memes, and then I'll feel gross when I get to the end. But, and I still have a soft spot for You Only Live Twice. It's not the greatest thing. So for me, From Russia with Love has been my favorite of all of the Bond movies that we have watched so far. And for that reason, I'm willing to put Connery slightly above Lazenby, but I do think this should have been a Lazenby movie. I think that everybody made a mistake, especially United Artists, and Diamonds Are Forever should not have been a Sean Connery movie at all.
Where it ended up being the last one, yeah, I think that's probably, it would have benefited everybody from being that way.
Whether it be Lazenby or Roger Moore, United Artists made a mistake. This was the whiff. This was the one where, frankly, it's probably better forgotten that this was Sean Connery's last outing as Bond. But that's okay. It's fine. We're going to be back with Roger Moore. There's a 2-year gap. So they have time to cast and really work with someone. Roger Moore is going to take the Bond franchise for 7 movies. So he has Connery beat by 1. So he does have the most movies. So we're gonna have a little time with a new Bond and get a totally new flavor. So I am excited for that.
Oh, I don't know that I've watched Live or Let Die, but I
don't remember anything about it.
The one after that is The Man with the Golden Gun, and I think I know that one.
Yes, that one sticks with me. I have some mixed feelings about it, but if I remember correctly, I generally end on a positive feeling with The Man with the Golden Gun, but I don't know anything about Live and Let Die, our next movie. So I don't want to say if it's going to be good or bad. I don't even want to say that about The Man with the Golden Gun. We are getting to prime Bond, where some of these titles are titles that people are going to be like, oh yeah, that's Bond. Like, we're getting there.
I'm excited
getting to real Bond.
To get through a couple more weeks, because I have not rewatched GoldenEye I think since I watched it the first or second time. And that is decades.
I'm more familiar with the video game than I am the movie. I think I've seen it once in my life. So I'm like, ooh, that's going to be exciting too. Yeah, so I'm very excited to continue on this journey and to finally commit to leaving Sean Connery behind.
Yeah, that's fine.
Growing with the franchise in the 70s. And the 80s. We're going to take Roger Moore all the way to the 80s, but we're way off the beaten path. Let's do the outro stuff. If you have made it all this way and you have enjoyed what you have heard, why don't you interact with the show on whatever platform you're listening on, whether that be a rating or a comment, a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, whatever it does to tell the system you would recommend it to others. Why don't you do that? You can also share the show with your friends. We greatly appreciate that. And if you would like to get in touch with us directly, we do have an email that I check occasionally. That is potatochippicturesPod@gmail.com. All right. I am B. Sammy Davis.
I'm Justin.
And Potato Chip Pictures, as well as James Bond, will return in Live and Let Die. Goodbye!